So welcome everyone. Everyone enjoyed Anime North thus far?
Yeah. Love lines. It's great. Minecon.
You guys are all here for Sailor Moon?
Woo! Okay, good. So the microphones don't really work in this room, so if you can't hear us, just let us know.
You can talk louder.
I'm gonna fix it.
You can try, but I tried it yesterday and they weren't working at all. Oh, is it actually working today? Interesting. Yeah, because I had to yell yesterday at 2 panels and my voice was shot after that.
It does look like that speaker could be turned 90 degrees though.
Okay,
There you go.
We're going to start off
Oh,
with just some
I was wrong.
introductions of who we are. So my name is Emily. I am the con-chair of the Toronto Sailor Moon Celebration, which will be happening on June 24th at the Science Centre. Hope you can all make it out. It's a day of Sailor Moon, everything plus a girl power event. So, and we have a table over in the dealer's room. It's near the entrance. Purple table glass, you can't miss us. And we are selling lovely tote bags like these. And we're also selling our pre-reg tickets and some buttons. So you can come by and chat more about that. And I'll pass this on.
My name's Amanda. I've been, God, I don't even remember how many times I've been here. And I've done this panel. My gateway anime, and I love it.
My name is Richard. I've been again doing panels for quite a while. It's kind of clear to see here that there is still a relatively strong male fan base for Sailor Moon as well. So,
yeah, my name's Mike. I've been a fan of Sailor Moon since it was on YTV. Season 1 only. That's the only season we had at the time. And yeah, to echo Richard's point, I'm glad to see there's so many male fans because I think growing up at that time and Sailor Moon being one of the only anime on TV and being a guy that was into it was maybe not the easiest thing, but definitely worth it.
Yeah. So we're going to start off with a few little topics, and we'll just kind of open it up to the floor. If you guys have questions at any time, just let us know. It's pretty freeform. So kind of leading off of the introductions here, we'll just start talking about how Sailor Moon was a gateway anime for a lot of people, and it was one of the things that was really responsible for the anime boom in Canada in particular. So it had a really good time slot on YTV, you know, being on after school blocks, and then on Global it was in the preschool block, you know, like before school, not preschool, right? But so you had the early mornings and you had the afternoons, and so it got a lot of really great exposure, and it was able to have the chance of being a success. And I think, in my mind, I find that it's been so successful because it was one of the only female-focused franchises that we were seeing at the time with strong characters, and they all had unique personalities, and they were all really relatable. There was somebody that everybody could either relate to or look up to in the series. So I think that was really key to the franchise being successful. You guys have want to add to that?
Yeah, I think, like I said, I was into anime. I was into Sailor Moon when it was one of the only anime on TV at that time, and it was a really interesting time because, I mean, you had like 13 episodes of Dragon Ball, and that was about it in Sailor Moon. And it was also a weird time when, you know, Japanese culture was really starting to hit over here, you know, so much so that Americans were kind of scared of it, between Nintendo and Power Rangers and Sailor Moon just taking over all pop culture. It was such a unique and cool show at a time when, you know, American cartoons weren't as serious, weren't dealing in the topics that Sailor Moon kind of covered. It was a gateway anime for me. It was the anime that got me into the stuff that came later or that wasn't out here yet, so definitely.
I mean, for me, I have a younger brother, so it was either Sailor Moon or Dragon Ball Z. And I, you know, yes, I love my Sailor Moon because it was girly, and that was one thing I could get into. And it kind of followed me, even though, you know, my mother would laugh at me and be like, well, you're, you know, 12, 13, why are you watching, you know, cartoons meant for babies? Even when I was older, you know, 20s. She gets it now, and she kind of like oh, okay, have fun, go enjoy it. And I'm proud to say that, you know, I have a child who's turning 2 in a couple of weeks, and she already knows Sailor Moon. And I didn't teach her. She kind of saw me watch it and went on it on her own, so I'm like, hey, gateway.
So for myself, Sailor Moon wasn't actually a gateway. I actually got into Sailor Moon relatively late in my developing fandom. I was aware of Sailor Moon when I was growing up. It was basically like, it's that stupid girly cartoon. It's not as good as, you know, like X-Men or Batman. And, you know, Japanese cartoons are stupid because they got these ridiculous huge eyes, and I don't understand that, so it must be dumb. I actually really got into Sailor Moon. I was sick at home one day, and we happened to have a Gray Market satellite, and we had the Cartoon Network, so Toonami at the time was doing its run of Sailor Moon. They actually had a marathon called Total Eclipse of the Heart, where they basically shotgunned the entire run of Sailor Moon S. And that was, I was aware of it, I had it in the past, because that kind of got me back into the fandom, and just, you know, accentuated my, I guess, my otakudom, so that was neat.
All right. So, kind of adding on there, I think there were a lot of different cartoons that we could see at the time. I mean, I watched X-Men and Batman and Ninja Turtles and all that stuff too as I was growing up. I was 13 when I started watching Sailor Moon, and then I started collecting the dolls, and my mom was like, "You're gonna grow out of this." And now I run a convention, which she's actually really proud of and very supportive of. She's like, "Well, you're doing really well with this." Like she'll share it to like her friends on Facebook and stuff. You're so cute. She actually watches anime too. I can actually get her to watch different things now. She didn't really watch Sailor Moon, but she likes a lot of shoujo stuff. So she would watch Fruits Basket with me, Marmalade Boy. She also liked Witch Hunter Robin and other stuff that was on YTV. So it was interesting to see her go from saying, "Oh, this is just a fad," to actually this is kind of interesting. I think that was a little bit unusual, but I also found that, you know, it was different to see a show that was very girl power focused, and we hadn't really seen that in a long time. I remember very vaguely that there was like Wonder Woman in a cartoon when I was very small, and then we didn't see anything for a very long time. It was like we've been starved of this, and then Sailor Moon came out of nowhere, and it's like, what is this? I need more. And it was more than just, you know, pink and pretty and sparkles. There was depth to the characters, and one of the things that I really enjoyed about the classic series personally was that there was a lot of character development. You really got to know the individual people. Yes, there's a lot of filler episodes, and everyone's kind of iffy on those. But I liked knowing that, you know, these were individual people, and they were all their own kind of girl. You know, Sailor Jupiter was one of the ones that I thought was particularly interesting because she was very feminine, but then she also had these very tomboyish characteristics as well. And there wasn't anything wrong with that. You know, they would just say, you know, like, this is who they are.
There's a really good book called, I think it's called Eternal Warriors, Japan Through Sailor Moon, which is basically an exploration of how Japanese culture is reflected in Sailor Moon. And one of the little neat areas they go into is, you know, like kind of like the quote-unquote anime parent hole, where there's all these children or, you know, young teens that are living in Tokyo by themselves without any kind of parental supervision. But the reason for that is it reflects the way that business tends to happen when you've got like the essentially absentee father where he's never around because he goes to work before the kids wake up and he gets back to work because his commute's 2 to 3 hours. So with Makoto, one of the things they kind of go into is that because she's so tall, she's ostracized from the rest of of her society, so to speak, and from especially people her own age. And the ability for her to still be exceptionally feminine and take care of herself, juxtaposed to the fact that she's tall, isn't necessarily that she herself is a tomboy, but that she's made to be a tomboy because she's so different, because she's so tall.
Yeah, she had to be more independent than some of the others, and it seemed like a lot of them had this almost tragic part to them. They're all a little bit of a tragic hero, except for a few. But you've got like Jupiter. She doesn't have parents. She's an orphan, and she had to really become very independent. And Ray doesn't really speak with her grandfather. Well, she speaks with her grandfather. She doesn't speak with her father. And I don't think they really covered what happened to her mom.
No.
Touch on that more in the live action.
Okay. But she's like, well, I want to be a shrine maiden, and it's not something that everybody is very accepting of. They think she's a little weird. And all of them have that kind of, people think we're weird. And one of the things I really liked in the R movie was that they really kind of focused on the fact that they had these things that made them feel like they were outsiders, and yet being brought together by Usagi really made them feel like they belonged somewhere. And I thought that the theme of friendship and what it means to really connect with other people was really powerful. And you don't see that a lot in the way that they did it. So I thought that they did that really well. And I think that's one of the things that's also contributed to it being a long-lasting franchise. That this is not, it's not common to be seeing so many franchises that will last 25 years or more, and you fill rooms with Sailor Moon fans, and you have conventions that are about Sailor Moon. Off the top of my head, the kinds of long-lasting franchises that I can think of are things, like Star Trek and Doctor Who, and like what is that magic essence that makes it last that long and really have this legacy that sticks with people. And so I think that friendship and the female empowerment messages were some of the key elements from my perspective. I'd love to hear from you guys as well.
Actually, I think it kind of spurred that theme into anime, right? There are so many animes that have that theme of friendship, but they don't handle it that well. It's usually just at the end of the fight, everyone's like, because we're friends, we're stronger, And maybe Sailor Moon and maybe Persona is the only other thing I can think of that really dives into, well, what does that really mean and how does that really give you power, right?
Yeah. Plus, they had different kinds of friendships. Right? They weren't all just, we're going to be friends all the time, and we never argue. You really get that a lot with
Usagi and Ray.
And they exaggerated to a degree in the original dub because I think they felt that it was easier for younger audiences to digest if they exaggerated certain things. But they're very much like sisters. I have a little sister, and growing up, we had this love-hate relationship. Like one day we'd be like, yeah, let's go play Barbies, and the next day, like, I hate you. and then you're fighting, right? It's like, no, you can't take that Barbie, that one's mine. But you still care about each other, and there were things that they had cut out that I was actually really sad when I found out that they cut certain aspects of their relationship. The trust that they actually had for each other. One of the things that they did was Usagi had actually given her moonstick to Ray for safekeeping. And then in the Canadian dub, when they said, oh, she stole it, or oh, she forgot it at my house because she's forgetful or whatever. But in the original, Usagi was like, well, I know that I'm going to get captured, and this is our plan, and I want you to have this for safekeeping because I trust you the most to make sure that nothing happens to this, regardless of what they do to me. And I was like, that's such an important aspect of their relationship. I'm so sad that they cut that because it really added a really interesting dynamic to them. And there's a scene in the R movie that you can miss if you don't look really carefully, but there's a wave of flowers that's coming over towards the girls, and it's actually Sailor Mars who grabs Sailor Moon's arm and throws her out of the way. She's the one who goes and acts fast and says, you are the most important one who's going to be able to get us out of this, so you need to be saved. And nobody else thought to do that, but because they have this special bond, that's how that ended up happening.
Do you think it's, I know that a lot of times when we look back at the dubs that the original releases in North America and Canada, we talk about it's a shame that this happened, shame that this happened. But in retrospect, it all kind of worked out, because if they did leave a lot of things into it, it might have been considered too complicated or too grandiose for the audience that was really being introduced to it. So I don't want to besmirch the originals, but like not the originals, but the versions that we consider the originals, right? But it is important that I guess that sometimes things do need to get cut, and things need to be quote unquote dumbed down, so that the I know that it's I know
Kids
sometimes
are a lot
it's
smarter than we give them credit for.
yes, true, but understand that we're introducing this to an audience, and sometimes you got to do baby steps first before you have them walk and run. And
it is true, because the generation of children now are a lot clever, a lot smarter than it was, or I guess, not to make us sound dumb, but when we were children, like a lot of the stuff
We're a more
that
progressive society now too.
So
right?
like you'll have like 2-3-year-olds who know how to work an iPad, or who understand certain concepts that when we were that age didn't necessarily understand, because that was the way we were raised then. So obviously it makes, like, I kind of
Well,
agree.
they
with
were
you there.
making adjustments. Now, a lot of this is because it was a U.S. production company that they were dealing with at first, right? So DEEK is U.S. based. And the other thing was that they were skewing the audience lower than what it originally was intended to be. It was originally supposed to be a preteen show, and they were skewing it down to a Y7. So that creates certain complications. And so there are certain changes they had to make for that. And also, on U.S. television, it's a lot stricter than it is in Canadian television. We get a lot of things uncut, and they're like, ah. And there's also, the fact that they have to think about, well, what's common in other kids' series? And if that's how they do it on those, and that's what people are going to expect, and we already know that this works, so we don't want to have it be too drastically different, because then it might not translate.
Yeah, I totally agree, though. I think it's a shame that it happened, but it was necessary, especially at that time. And I don't think I don't agree it needed to be dumbed down for kids, but it needed to be dumbed down for network execs.
yeah,
right?
yeah, sorry.
We needed to have it.
Dumbed
Yeah,
down for
we needed to have it, and
that.
it still pushed so many boundaries, right?
Like fundamentally, cartoons in both Japan and North America do the same thing, but they do them in different ways. So one example is in Sailor Moon, they strive to show various aspects of Japanese culture that the younger people aren't necessarily going to be familiar with. So one of the examples that I came across was the tea ceremony, for example, which a 12-year-old girl in Japan who's lived her whole life in Tokyo is probably not, despite the fact how kind of not ubiquitous, but how common it is in anime or in among fandom. It's one of those really specialized aspects of Japanese culture and society. So for a mass audience to introduce their own younger people to their own culture, they put these kind of things in the media that they're going to be consuming. So having Usagi sit there and having basically Usagi be the stand-in for the viewer as to why everything is done this way, why it's done so slowly, how it's done, is a way to introduce those kind of concepts to a younger audience in Japan to ingratiate themselves with their own culture. Whereas in North America, the North American, because you have issues of localization and trying to get North American values and things across, especially when it's something like Sailor Moon, you get the tacked on Sailor Moon Says, where they just have literally Wheel of Morality at the end of it, where they're teaching
That's
a moral
also
lesson.
a U.S. television requirement,
Exactly.
that all
Yeah.
children's programming has to have an educational component. You did it in Animaniacs too,
Yeah.
even, and they were always really ridiculous.
Eat some real inappropriate jokes in Animaniacs, like
Oh, yeah.
releasing it in like later years.
Yeah, but you saw that they actually disappeared after a while, right? But it was funny when they would add them on, when it was like, well, we already kind of got a message from the show itself. I could understand adding them on when they didn't have such an obvious message in a specific episode, but they were adding them on to every one of them in the early seasons, and then once it wasn't as ubiquitous on US television, then they're like, well, we don't really need this for Canada, they don't care. They're like, just give us the stuff. But, you know, speaking of the cultural stuff, you know, some of the things that they were changing, you know, like not calling the pork buns. I was like, why didn't they just call them buns? Because people know what a bun is. They called them donuts instead, but they were like, well, no one's gonna know what an odango is, so we can't call it that. We gotta call it something that a little kid might know here. But I was like, well, a bun is not really uncommon. You could have just said it was a bun.
Perhaps bun was too close to butt.
No, why is a girl walking around and eating a bun as a snack? A donut makes more sense to a kid in Canada or the States than a bun.
I think that's probably, you know, like the logistics that they were thinking of that. But, you know, now it wouldn't really be an issue because now it's more common knowledge to see those kinds of things.
Yeah.
A lot more people are going to different kinds of restaurants and trying different kinds of food, so it wouldn't be so confusing to see. What I thought was really weird was there was an episode where they were actually roasting sweet potatoes and they were eating them, and then they called them protein bars. Like, that's not what that is. And it's like, we have sweet potatoes here?
They exist in the United States.
And you don't roast protein bars.
I'm just going to backtrack a little, sorry.
Yeah.
But to go back to what you were saying before about why Sailor Moon is so popular and why it sticks to this day, I think as a parent, and I got into it because of my daughter who was 13 at the time, and she used to race home at lunchtime and watch it on YTV, and then we watched it in Japanese with the English. But it's just the character herself, Sailor Moon, is so endearing to everyone, and it's just, you can be a klutz, you can be not so smart in school, you can eat whatever you want, you can dress however you want, you can speak your mind, but you can still be a hero. And I think that that's why, with so many people, we feel, you know, I think that's why it's had such longevity, because we all have our vices, we all have our issues, but inside we know we can still be loving, kind, and we can still be a hero.
Yeah, we can still do great things, you know. No matter what difficulties we're coming across, there's always a way to get to your end goal, and maybe you need to take a different path to get there. One of the things I really liked about the character of Sailor Moon herself was that she didn't care about rumors, she didn't care what other people were saying. She was like, I want to know who you are as a person. So like when she sat down with Mako or Lita early on, and she's like, oh my gosh, your lunch looks amazing. Can I try this stuff? And then she's like, you're not afraid of me. She's like, why would I be? You haven't done anything to me. Why would I be afraid of you? Yeah, but I think that, you know, like a lot of kids who have been bullied were able to go and say, this is the kind of hero I would love to have as a friend. You know, this is the kind of person I would love to have look out for me. I was a more introverted kid, so that was something that really stuck out to me, and I really liked that. And then I got into drawing, because of Sailor Moon. And I think a lot of people had that kind of thing too, you know. It just kind of goes from there. I think I saw another hand over here.
I was just going on about the whole food thing. So,
Yeah.
like for example, in Pokemon, they call rice balls jelly donuts. That might be why.
Yeah.
Well, that was after.
Yeah, Pokemon was after, but yeah, you'd still see those kinds of things. You know, and it was the 90s. We have to remember that, you know, some of the changes they were making at that time were because of that time period. I think, so one of our other subjects here is about sexuality and gender representation in the franchise. And what comes up a lot with people that they say that they don't like the Cloverway dubs is because they had changed Neptune and Uranus to be cousins. But that was something, they had to come up with something at the time because it was not going to be well accepted. And that doesn't mean that I agree with it, because I don't agree with that decision, but that was a network decision that came from above. They didn't have a choice. And you have to remember that also, at that time, this is the late 90s, early 2000s, Ellen DeGeneres came out on her sitcom in 1997. I looked this up, I double checked, because I wanted to have the exact date. And then she didn't work for 3 years because of it. People were not ready for this. They're totally okay with it now, but you could not do that at the time, unfortunately. So there was some other workaround that they had to have.
I don't know, I think like my big personal issue with like the whole their cousins thing, I understand that yes, in the late 90s, like like the LGBT community was not as widely accepted as it is now. So I understand for like ratings reasons, it had to happen. But the way they did the editing, they still look so gay.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be related.
They had come up with a different option. I think I heard that in another country they tried to go and say that like Uranus was a boy or whatever, right? And I was like, why didn't they just go and say that like they were like sort of college roommates or whatever?
It would have made more sense. Anything would have made more sense.
Yeah.
That's why we never got that, right?
Yeah, like the author was actually pretty upset about that because in the manga, it's Scarlet Girl Girls, and the author was like, "Why did you do that? Why did you change?"
It was a very strange change they made in the anime to do that. It was like, no, she had written them as females who were posing as men, and it wasn't meant to be a transgender kind of thing. It was just, this is a disguise.
Yeah, always.
And Zoe Slade and Nephrite too.
Yeah.
I think that was true. And Fisheye. They changed Fisheye from being a man into a woman for the dub because it was considered that he wasn't supposed to be so feminine. Like, it had to be a woman. Zoe Slade and Nephrite, same deal as Uranus and Neptune. They weren't allowed to be a thing. I think it was Zoe Slade.
Although it was, like all of those kinds of relationships were very subtle on screen.
Yeah, exactly.
It was just...
It was implied.
It seemed like it was just done out of fear.
Yeah, that's
like
kind
they
of what
couldn't
got
do it
me
because
too.
they're like, well, we won't be able to get on TV then.
Yeah, that's what got me about it too, is that they were so subtle, they didn't really have to make those changes, but they did anyway.
Right.
Well, the networks made them do the changes, right? So they didn't really get a choice. Yes.
I just have an anecdote, but growing up, because I believe I had seen the Cloverway dub growing up, and so I didn't really, and even though like Uranus and Neptune were like really gay, I didn't really pick up on it, and I was like, oh, they're cousins, that's fine. But even outside of that, like it was still a gateway for like the LGBT community because I shipped Sailor Mars and Sailor Venus. Like I was like in kindergarten there, and I shipped them, and I didn't even pick up on Uranus and Neptune.
There was actually a long time ago, and I'm forgetting his name, but there was a guy who had done a fan translation of the original manga series, and some people read just the translation without looking at the pictures. And there's a scene in the manga where Venus and Mars are talking to each other, and they're actually talking about their dedication to the princess, the moon princess. But without the context of the pictures, you actually think they're talking about each other, and it sounds romantic. And it's really not. I think I saw some other hands. Yeah.
Actually, I saw the subtitled version of Sailor Moon as before I saw them doing it with the cousins, and I never could figure out how cousins came into it. It didn't work for me.
Well, that was the major change that they made when they were doing the Cloverway dubs, but otherwise it was pretty much uncut. You got, 99% of the story there. Whereas when you had the Deke dubs, they were cutting entire episodes sometimes.
Like a lot of the episodes.
Yeah, and so I was like, well, I get that it's upsetting that, yes, they changed this relationship for these two characters that are, very in focus in the series, but they tried to keep as much as they could intact, and I appreciated that effort. And most fans already knew, so it was just like, haha, side joke, just kind of like Jupiter's talent.
Actually, I like the Deke songs. The rest of it wasn't superior, but their songs were better
The
than.
songs were
Was,
Yeah.
did Cloverway, I didn't know there were two different dubs. Was this like,
So what?
So the
between-
S and supers were Cloverway.
okay, yeah, but they didn't go back and redo the whole thing, right?
No.
No.
They just changed production companies.
No, actually, Cloverway, for some of the Cloverway dub, there was a bunch of licensing issues, and so they couldn't get a lot of the actors back, so I
I thought
think
they knew Sailor Moon and
Yeah, it was a new-
sound good at all.
I think she was a new Sailor Moon, and I want to say there was a new
Well, they had to do a new Sailor Moon because Terry was pregnant with twins, and it's just not possible to do all that screaming.
Fair.
It's very loud.
It's a very physical kind of role when they're doing the voice acting for Sailor Moon. There's so much screaming that she's doing, so that just wasn't possible. Katie was off. She was a part of some other show in the States, like on the other coast, and they didn't want to do like the recording over the phone. So they're like, well, just for the few episodes that you're not going to be here, we'll have someone else do it. So they had Emily Barlow do that. But like they tried to keep certain people, but yeah, sometimes people are just like, okay, I'm done with this. I need to move on to something, or there's some other complication, and that's why that kind of thing ends up happening. But you get, different ones that you can hear and see what you like. Everybody has their own favorites, and they're all great people, whether you like their portrayal or not.
The new DVDs and Blu-rays are coming out now. They're one cut, right?
Yeah.
There's three dubs really.
Yeah.
Biz redid like the whole series.
Yeah, Viz is redoing the whole
And I haven't
series.
seen the S yet. Does anyone know if they kept the relationship? If they're
Yes,
changed
everything
it?
is
Yeah.
100% intact.
Straight.
Right.
And we're gonna finally get a non-fan English dub of Stars, so
Stars,
that'll be
Yeah.
interesting. So because it's kind of always been floating around and it's out there in the zeitgeist, do you want to do Crystal versus Classic? Because I do.
I love Crystal.
Okay, so how many here prefer the original to Crystal? You're wrong.
Everyone is entitled to their own opinion.
Absolutely.
To be fair, though,
can't
you
be
have
serious.
Crystals and what was released in streaming, and then you have the final animation with all
Yeah.
the corrections.
I am
And-
not a fan of the animation for Crystal.
There is no excuse for the
I think that
animation in
There
Crystal.
were a lot of mistakes because they were rushing a lot of things. They definitely announced it way too prematurely. They announced it before they had a plot, before they had character designs, before they had signed anybody up to be a voice actor, and that's why they kept delaying it. And then all the fans are like, oh my gosh, this is taking forever. And then they finally start releasing it, and then you get this really crap animation, and you're like, what the heck just happened to her eyes? This is Picasso? Like, what's going on?
Okay, so if we can move our nostalgia goggles for a moment, because the original Sailor Moon, especially in the first season, because it was a very long production, the qualities. How many people here saw the Sailor Moon Aura re-release in English and that was in theaters?
Yeah.
Tell me how great the quality of that intro sequence was, because it was like Berserk 2016 train wreck kind of bad.
There were a couple of scenes with the comet that looked really weird. It was like, I kind of wish they reanimated that because they could have made that better. But there's a lot more consistency and a lot more checking of keeping things on model is the term for having the characters continuously look the way that they're supposed to look. And I found they were really missing that a lot in the streaming for Crystal. They were not very consistent with that. They were just rushing things and there wasn't a lot of quality control. And then they fixed it later for the video release and I'm like, well, I would have kind of rather that you just took a little bit more time and then did, a better quality stream. Because it makes me feel discouraged. It's like, you're just trying to get all our money. And for me, I'm not as keen on Crystal because although I find that it's interesting that the story is closer to the manga, and I appreciate that, there are certain things that don't translate as well to the animated series versus a manga series. So it became more obvious to me that certain characters, especially like in the early part of Crystal, it's almost like they're window dressing. You don't really know anything about them. And if you didn't know the characters from before, you know almost nothing. You're like, I don't know what Sailor Mars is about.
Right, but again, if you go back to the source material, that's it. You don't.
Yeah,
you don't,
but
because you don't have
I'm
the
saying
same-
that it doesn't translate well, so it just became more obvious that that was missing. And then they did fix that later, right? So they did get into more of that later.
But I mean, that's just the nature of the manga and how the character development happens in the manga, because they have it's a relatively limited series. It's not like there was character development in the manga that they cut out of the animated
Yeah.
series.
No, and they work
At
really,
least till.
they work really well in tandem. That's what I love about it, right? The new Crystal. It's not like Dragon Ball Z Kai. I only need to watch Kai now. I probably won't go back and watch the original. But with Sailor Moon Crystal and the original Sailor Moon, I'll still watch both, right? Because there's
Yeah.
so much in the original that is just great that's not in Crystal. But with Crystal, I love that distilled, just like I can watch a season in a day and get all this story that even the original series didn't cover so well. Some of it, right?
I mean, I think fundamentally they're different. They're different things for different audiences. Like the original series was aimed at a relatively younger demographic than the manga originally was aimed at. It was aimed at relatively young school children. I mean, you know, Takeuchi was writing for that, but in a different way than the television producers were in Japan at the time.
Yeah, and throughout when she was writing the manga, she aged things up, made it more mature as they saw that an older audience than expected was reading it, right? So they adjusted based on that, which is interesting. But
like I am the one thing that I dislike more about the original that the manga doesn't do is that Usagi's not as endearing as her being as a goofy screwball is. I like competent Usagi. I like the fact that there's a reason she's the leader, and it's not just because she's the bloodline of the Imperial, Silver Millennium. That she's actually a competent, strong leader who is competent and strong consistently, not just like when push comes to shove. And that they just made.
I think that was also something that kind of got exaggerated when they were doing the Canadian dub. Because I've been rewatching, and I'm watching the new Viz dub because I want to, check it out. And I'm like, wow, Usagi is actually a lot more keen on fighting when you see the uncut version. There's a scene where she tries to throw her tiara at Jedi, and she just does this on her own. She's just like, oh, you're there, and I'm taking this moment. And she throws the tiara, and then he stops it, and it falls down. She's like, damn it, no fair! And then she's like, okay, next thing. And then she runs over to him to try to kick him, right? And that kind of initiative was not really something that they ended up having in the Canadian dub. They kind of simplified things more.
I found as the Canadian dub went on, though, Usagi's character development was fantastic. To watch Usagi from the first episode of the first season to the end of Super S.
Yeah, you saw a lot of growth in her.
She actually turned and so I thought it was really cool to watch her blossom into the leader she was born to be.
Yeah. But that was something though that I found was surprising. I'm like, I don't remember her being like this when I was watching the dub, when I was younger. So it's nice to see that, she puts on the costume and she's like, okay, let's do this more often than not. But when she's being a regular girl, she's just like, I'm just gonna be my weird self.
And Running Ray is the biggest change for me in Crystal, right? It's like, oh, you can be tough without being super mean.
Well, how about opinions?
My opinion, the Crystal, my only problem with it was too short. They didn't have enough episodes for a season. I didn't like that.
I mean, depending on the series, most broadcast anime now, especially with the streaming, is generally usually 12. And then sometimes you'll get you'll get on to carry on if it's particularly popular, or if you've got not particularly popular, but to get a consecutive season like a winter and fall release is the exception rather than the rule, unless it's a series like a One Piece or the bigger. Even something like Hero Academia still had a break between its season, and it's on the ascendancy in terms of the Shonen Jump release.
I did find that there were a couple of things that were really rushed that I was like, what? Why did they do that? So I thought it was interesting that they kept the four generals alive longer, and they're like, okay, and now we're gonna go and say that all these memories are coming back, and then they're like, okay, now we're just gonna kill you.
No, you're dead. Bye.
Done. And I was like, what just happened? And now they're all so upset. It's like, you just remembered this like 2 seconds ago. Why are you this upset? It's like, that's
Because they
just
remembered in the first
not
one they
believable at all.
The one thing I love about Crystal, because I hadn't read the manga when I watched the original series, was I always wondered, like, where's Queen Natalia? Like, where's the movie where she comes back, right? And then Crystal's like, oh, look, okay, that's how it happens.
I hope that they keep continuing and finish the entire story. I'm really looking forward to seeing them actually put, Tuxedo Mask's story of having his own crystal and powers into an animated form. I think that's going to be really interesting to see, and I hope that they pull it off well.
There's certain things that I like about both.
Yeah.
I do like my original, and I love Crystal because it is close to the manga. But what I really like about Crystal is because I'm such a big Tuxedo Mask fan. He has powers in Crystal. He has more of a backstory. He's not just an idiot who comes in a cave and says, "Oh, blah 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 blah, go for it."
Believe in yourself.
And it was on a completely off topic. There was, I don't know what stand it is in the dealer room, but they have a pad of Tuxedo Mask, and each page is like a different thought bubble that you can add your own stuff to, which I thought was great. Just completely on a tangent. I was just like, wow.
There's these new games that are going to be coming out in the next few months or so. They're going to be releasing one like at the end of the summer, and then another one in a few months after that. And they're off of the Sailor Moon Crystal line from a company called Dice Cami, and they're tabletop games. And they've released some promo pictures from it, and in one of the games, they've got like this little chibi Tuxedo Mask, and he's got this bubble, and it's like, "Come at me, bro." And I'm like, when did he ever see that? Like, this is just weird.
That was my 2 cents. That's why I kind of like Crystal better, in a way.
I like things about both of them.
Like, the original will always be dear and close to my heart, but there's certain things, like, I'm sorry, they gave my character an actual backstory, which isn't, I got into a car accident, I don't remember who I am, I'm just going to start spouting words of encouragement and hope that, and throw roses at people like me.
The relationship between Usagi and Mother, too, is a lot more pronounced than Crystal. I love it. He's not just this like, real, kind of a...
jackass?
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he's such a jerk. Yeah, when I've been watching, the uncut Viz stuff, and I'm like, hey, this guy has problems.
And there's no Moonlight Night. I love that there's no Moonlight Night. I love that there's no Moonlight Night.
I didn't like the Moonlight Night either. I was like,
That's the only
what?
time he's effective.
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy.
It's the only time he has a weapon other than a rose.
But
And
he's
did
just,
anything
he's
at
just so
all.
ridiculous, and I'm like, this is such a terrible stereotype.
Anyone else have strong opinions about Crystal?
I really liked in Crystal, as opposed to the animated series, like just the minute details. Like I like that Venus got a actual, like a real intercentury transformation scene as opposed to the star banner or whatever. And like they kept Sailor V's pen. Like that was just one of those little things that stuck with me because I was like, you know what, it's as opposed to her just having to say like it was just orange, right? Like
And she actually went to keep her belts too.
yeah, like and they brought the chains in, like they kept the original attacks. Like
But I
it was-
think it was Jupiter was missing the belt. No. But she never actually used it, so I could sort of see why they didn't bother including that.
So like the thing about Sailor Moon Crystal being so short is because like in Japan like they have the anime industry is actually been losing money from all the streaming services that are like the illegal streaming ones where it's no one's paying for it because usually you would like make however many like cents or dollars off of each episode that's being viewed, and now that you have all these different streaming services that aren't asking you to pay for it, they're actually losing money. So that's probably why the Sailor Moon Crystal was so short and it was all condensed because that's happening with a lot of other animes.
Well, there are definitely official streams that you can go to, and you don't necessarily have to pay to watch it on the official streams. But it's always better to go and watch the official because you are still supporting the release that way. You know, those sites are ad supported, and yes, they do subscriptions, you know, so, you know, go and watch it on Crunchyroll and check out Tubi TV. I find that a lot of fans don't know about Tubi TV because Viz took a while to finally come up with a streaming partner for Canada so that you could actually go and see all of the original episodes and Crystal and everything there, right? So they're going to be putting all of the dubs on there, plus they've got all of the original subbed, so you can actually see all of the original subbed episodes on there, and it's streaming. But Crystal, I've been watching on Crunchyroll because they've been doing the original subtitled releases have been on there, and I don't pay for a subscription because that's the only show that I'm watching on there. But it's ad supported, so you can go and support it in that way, and you can check it out, and you're still helping out. You're still saying, I care about this franchise. When you go to one of those illegal streaming sites, zero is going back into that franchise. If you show your support, even if you don't have the funds to pay for something right now, by going to the official sites, then you're encouraging more of it to come. So please do try to do that.
What did you say the streaming one with all the dubs is called?
Tubi TV, so it's tubi.tv.
And is it like something you pay for?
No, you can do a subscription, but they do have free, they've got lots of stuff on there. I hadn't really heard of it before they had announced it, but they've got like everything on there. So yeah, it's a good site to check out. And so that's where you can get it in Canada, because in the States they did Hulu, which you can't get here without a VPN. I'm not going to tell you how to do that. But now you can finally get it a lot more easily.
I'm pretty sure you can get, like, you can pay for VPNs too.
You can, but they're not usually very legit. And it's kind of a sketchy thing to do because it also, when you go onto something like Hulu, which is US only because they apparently don't care about the rest of the world, then you're getting all of the US ads, and it can screw up their numbers of, you know, where people are actually watching. So then they're not actually getting the accurate data of who's watching it where. But if you're in Canada and you're going to the official Canadian stream thing, then they're actually going and they'll be able to see how many Canadians are actually watching it. Whereas if you use the VPN, then they're counting you as a pseudo-American. So we want to show them that really we do actually like it up here, because it took them a while to figure out that, yeah, we should probably do something.
So we got about 5 minutes. Do you want to leave it to maybe the audience if they have any questions?
Yeah, we can do that.
So we got about 5 minutes. So any other questions, comments, thoughts?
Okay, you like the original cartoon, you like the crystals. Did any of you watch or like the live action? I know I liked that one.
Yes.
Yes. So weird. I only watched a little bit of it myself. It wasn't really my personal taste. And unfortunately, it seems to be something that people either really love or really hate. There doesn't seem to be a lot of in between. So unfortunately, I don't think it's something that's ever really going to get dubbed and get an official release over here. So that's kind of sad for people who are fans of it. But I do recommend people checking it out.
It is
see it for
definitely
yourself.
different.
Yeah.
I was really disappointed that they didn't do like an animatronic cat for Luna. I was like,
Yeah.
really, Akashi, come on.
Puppet
They
Luna.
had in Sabrina the Teenage Witch. They could have just taken that cat.
The animated cat in the first episode.
Puppet Luna bad, Dark Mercury awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a balance. But Luna got to be a kid person, so that was cool.
On a similar note, any Sarah Mew fans? The musical?
Have you seen any of the new ones? The new ones are amazing. They actually had a bunch of the cast from the new ones down at Anime Matsuri in Texas back in April, and you can find videos of it on YouTube. And they actually subtitled it live, right? Because it was in the States. So the subtitles are, a little bit mistimed in some places. but they're fantastic. And this is an all-female cast that they're doing now, right? And the lady who plays Tuxedo Mask, oh my gosh, does she know how to work a crowd. She is fantastic. She walks out and she's like, hi. And she pulls out a rose and she kisses it and she's like, ha. And she throws it out into the audience and people are going nuts for her. It was awesome.
What are the thoughts on the YouTube Sailor Moon fan-made?
Has anybody seen that?
Oh, like the moon anime
hours,
makeup
yeah.
or whatever?
No, it's a fan-made movie that's 2 hours and 39 minutes. And I watched it, and it's 2.5 hours that I'm probably never ever going to get back.
Is it like
But it's one of those that it's so bad that it's good. You can't stop watching it because you want to see if it gets any worse.
And you know, kudos to them because like it was absolutely a labor of love, but it was a labor of love that they probably did for a budget of maybe $5,000.
Not even. I don't. They had the same actors play Sailor Moon and Sailor Venus.
Oh God.
But Sailor Venus had a British accent.
Yes, Sailor Venus had a British accent. And
Well, she wasn't even for a bit.
going on, my love for Mamoru, the actor that they got to play Darian was so fugly. I was just like,
Which is disappointing.
I was like
the original
and-
Husbando.
yes, and like the guy that they got to play Jedi was gorgeous, and I'm like, what, when, what? So, honestly, it's on YouTube. Check it out. It's pretty funny.
Are we going to regret that?
Yeah, well, I don't know,
You can
but
always stop
they,
watching.
yeah, you can always stop watching. They do have actual, like, for the last scene when they're the epic battle is actually, they actually use Moon Revenge as a song, which is great. So they have the actual, like, for a fan-made, it's pretty good. I mean, but it is fan-made.
There's some other fun stuff out there. If you look up Kelly Eden, so she's a YouTube personality, and she does a lot of Sailor Moon cosplay, and she does these really fun videos. And they're very tongue-in-cheek, so they kind of like laugh at themselves. So like there's one where there's her, and there's a little girl who plays Chibi Moon, and they're like, oh, there's a bad guy, let's go and transform. And they're like putting on their costumes and doing their makeup, and then it's like hours later, it's like, so were we gonna do this? So those are really fun to watch. She's done, I think only like 2 or 3 of them. There's like a cooking one, where she eats like all this butter, and
Oh, yeah.
and the lady who's playing manga was like, Usagi, you have a problem.
Quickly, because I know we're running out of time. If they were to make a Hollywood remake of it, who would you cast as main characters?
You almost
Go.
did, right? You had that barrel cast. I can't remember who it was.
It was Gina Davis, I think, that people were rumoring. There's been a lot of different rumors, and so like in the past few years, I've also written for a blog called Moon Chase, and like as one of our April Fool's jokes, one time I did like here's a fake cast, and I put like a bunch of the people from Vampire Diaries and stuff. I was like these people are like these people are vaguely the right age. But I was trying to make it, sort of obvious that it was not going to happen, and I was like, directed by Michael Bay. Mars fire explosion!
Mercury bubble explosion.
But, so there's been like a lot of different rumor ones, and I know a while back there was an article with Megan Fox saying that she was a big fan of Sailor Moon, and if there were ever a live action, she'd want to be part of it. And some people took that to mean that she wanted to be Sailor Moon. I was like, I don't think so. She's totally a Mars. I could totally see her being Mars. Yeah, I think you'd probably have to go with actors who are kind of playing teen roles now. You have to get people who are relevant. I'm not really watching a lot of teen series. I'm watching like Riverdale. Going nuts over that. But,
Anyone but Archie though.
Some hungry Japanese American actors and actresses.
Yeah.
I would really like to see them have a diverse cast. you know, I think Ray should definitely be a Japanese person.
Yes.
But I think that they could have a little bit more leeway with some of the others. I think that could be really interesting to see in live action.
So thanks for coming and enjoy your
Hi, I am Emily. I am the co-chair of the Toronto Sailor Moon Celebration. You can find us on June 24th at the Ontario Science Centre. You can check out our website, sailormooncelebration.com. Also look us up on Facebook, and you can find out all the details about the event. It's basically a day of Sailor Moon fun and a lot of girl power, and one-day convention this year. Come and check us out.